Aloha everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli Intuitive Soul. I'm a coach here and I'm here with Lynn Jarvis for our Mastering Your Soul's Gifts interview series, and I'm so excited to talk with you. And so why don't we start with you telling us about who you are, what you do, how did you become a master genius in what you do now? Like what kind of led you towards this path?
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for having me. And hello to everyone who's watching. Like you said, my name is Lynn Jarvis. My company name is Soul Luxury. And I'm an intuitive and healer and guide. I call myself a soul coordinator because no other title really fit right. And that came to me and I really liked it. So the main thing that I do is I work in signature packages with people over 3 or 6 months, because I believe that when it comes to healing, like an investment over time, is going to be the strongest impact or the strongest result. So I create these luxury packages for people where we meet about 5 times a month. And we do a combination of intuitive work and belief clearing and multiple modalities of energy healing to really get them to the life that they desire. Some people that when they come to me, it's like they have a vision, but either their vision is not clear or it's limited or lacking and their life isn't matching their desires. And so one of my greatest gifts, I feel, is being able to have like a really clear vision for people. So I'm able to see a good 10 or so years in the future, big picture vision, and I'm able to see people's highest potential. And so when we work together, that's always the framework that we go with. And then I ask them like what their 3 biggest goals or ideals are for the next 6 months to 2 years. And then we kind of target down and focus down on those specific areas over an extended period of time, which tends to work out really well. I have been working in this field for almost 5 years. I originally was a high school teacher, but I knew even in college that I was only going to do that for 5 years. Something in me just knew that that was all there was going to be. And then after that time was up, I knew I had taken my yoga teacher training and I had become really interested in Ayurveda. And so I went to apply at the Ayurvedic Institute, and life had different plans for me. So although I got in, I ended up not doing that. I stayed in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is where I lived for about 9 years. And I ended up going back to a different school that was Western herbalism and holistic nutrition. So I taught yoga and Pilates and tutored full-time and went to school full-time for a couple of years. And that got me into a school that was around a lot of other people in the metaphysical studies. There was a lot of polarity, cranial sacral, Reiki, different types of things like that you could study at the school. And so I was around a lot of people that were in the intuitive field. And so my gifts that I had as a child, although I don't remember them so clearly, started reopening. And I just kind of started knowing things, and I started being able to do things. And I started going to guided meditations and using cards, and eventually I just started doing readings. And then all the healing modalities that I do have been downloaded to me from the divine. I do have a couple certifications, but most of what I do has just come to me naturally over the last few years, and it continues to increase, which is awesome. So I combine really, really custom and intuitively for people what I've gleaned, from my angels and guides and downloads from the universe over the last few years for my clients.
So beautiful. You've got like so many different different ways of approaching it, but getting from their big vision goal and then grounding it enough so that it becomes, like easier for them to take the steps towards that bigger vision that you see for them.
Yeah.
So from your perspective of your genius, like why is it important to know, such things, right? In order to create a life of success, like what really got you to that point to realize, like, if I'm really going to create a successful life, like why is what I've created, right, with your genius, right, like what gets you to that point where it actually plays an important role in what you do now?
Well, if I'm understanding the question correctly, what I think you're asking is like, why is a big vision or a higher purpose important in my life now? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Why is it
Yeah.
important for anyone listening in, right? Like, why is that important to create a life of success in that way?
Yeah. Well, I think vision of our highest self and of our future self is so important because it keeps us driven every day. It keeps us focused. The stronger our intuition is and our divine connection is, again, it keeps us guided. It keeps us focused. It keeps us moving forward. I think a lot of people don't see their highest potential or feel their bigger purpose, and they live a life really unsatisfied. And they might be really good at something in the analytical world or in the tangible, tactical form, but they're not being satisfied in a soul level. And I think it's so important to really keep intuition sharp and to keep the big picture in mind every day, no matter what, to keep ourselves on the path of doing the greatest good that we can in the world that we came here to do and we came here to be. And a lot of us, I think, that are thought leaders or move in the head of the movement of this kind of direction have been here multiple times before. And it's almost like we were born knowing like, okay, this is the lifetime we're really going to charge ahead. And there's so many of us like you and whatever, and we've come together to really make a big shift and really wake a lot of people up. And when people are waking up, to be there to receive them wherever that they're at and bring them to the next level so they can feel satisfied and fulfilled.
Yes, yes, yes. So when you were growing up as a child, like what lit you up? Like how does that play into the role that you have become today?
Well, I've always just been a really optimistic and positive person. Um, what lit me up, being with, being with friends, socializing. I still love that so much. It's really important to me. I love just being happy. And I don't know exactly. I remember just so fondly, like I would just make up games and when I had chores to do, and I would sing songs for no reason, and I just was always really positive and really well lit, if you will, with my intentions and my goals, and wanted to live everything to the fullest and share that with everyone. I remember a funny story when I was in ninth grade. My English teacher was also my cheerleading coach, and in one of her other classes, we were learning vocabulary, and the vocabulary word was jubilant. And this one kid in class said, "Oh, like Lynn Jarvis?" And she laughed and said, "Yes." And that has stuck with me my whole life, because if someone that I, just kind of know through school, if that was their first thought when they learned that vocabulary word, that's always just made me so happy, because I, always hope to and aim to project that energy, along with integrity is really important to me as well.
Hmm. Yeah, you're lucky because a lot of people were not well lit up, when they were a little kid and they probably pushed it aside or they got hurt in some form. But, you've taken what you are and then create that from that place. So tell us,
Yeah.
tell us a vulnerable story of like your life or business. Like, what did it feel like when you're misaligned? And like, how did you get back into alignment in any way?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, about a year after I started into this business, I ended up being, I don't like the word victim, but I ended up on the negative side of a lot of psychic attack from a couple of different directions, from someone in my family and then from another group. And it took years to kind of clear and undo a lot of what was put upon me at the time. And so I've struggled with that in the past. And so I really have a place kind of in my heart for knowing when people know what their truth is. And if people don't hear them or see them correctly or don't treat them properly or don't understand their biggest potential. And I really like to be a sounding board for my clients and for my friends and whatever, when they tell me what their big dream is, to really respect that and see them for who they are and know and believe in them, because I've been in a position where I haven't been believed in by a lot of people that I thought that I cared about a lot. And that was really painful, and I went through a lot of struggle from that, and I've worked with a lot of healers over the years, so I've been on both sides kind of the spectrum in our world, and it was very challenging for me for a while to really, I'm just still vigilant about it to this day, to stay clear, to stay in my power, to stay in my mind. It's really, really important. And so I like to teach people as much as they can, as I can, for them, about when they're entering the world of intuition and healing, etc., of how to stay in alignment and use their intuition to guide them, and stay as protected as they can, because I don't like to say it or often, but unfortunately there is some room for influence, and it's healthful and important to stay completely in the light as much as possible.
Right, exactly. So when you kind of feel like giving up, like what keeps you going? Like what gets you to do that next thing?
Well, I just know, like I said, one of my greatest gifts is being able to see a big vision for the future and a long distance in the future. And I've had that my whole life, and I've been able to see where I'm going for a really long time. So no matter what, I know I'm going to get there. I just don't know how, and I don't know the timing of it. And that's where faith comes in. And I know every day small miracles can create big things. Like just this morning, I woke up feeling a little off. And the first thing I did when I opened Facebook was see 3 rainbows. One was pictures someone had taken, another was a video, and one was an oracle card. And I was like, okay, something amazing is going to happen today. And I just have to stay in faith. And then I felt like I was forcing it, because I really just wanted to do something productive today. It's Monday. I kind of relaxed yesterday, and just stuff like that when it comes to working your business, and content wasn't coming, and I wasn't feeling super inspired. And I did a live that felt authentic on my page, but then after that I just didn't, like, nothing seemed to be clicking. And so I just ended up watching Netflix for a while and taking some time out, and I've had the day to myself and home alone and all of that. And I ended up getting a client message me and asking for us to connect. So definitely good things can come when we're in ease and we're able to receive, and that's one of the greatest things that I teach. And so it was important that I just listened to the message to allow today to be whatever it is. And if I'm not 100% active today, that doesn't mean that I'm not doing something positive for my future.
Right, right. I think we kind of forget that we do need to do things out of love for ourselves first and then see what uncovers. A lot of times you kind of try to push and hustle more or create something more, but actually it's just about just going with what feels right and having faith, like you said, and then trusting that in the end you get where you want to go, because it may not look like the exact step-by-step thing that you thought it would look like. It ends up being like 5 different steps that actually got you there like faster. So you never know until you really just like align to that specific bigger vision goal, and then everything just starts to fall into place, and you just have to like allow yourself to move with it. So how do you define success? Like what kind of pain did you really have to endure to get to where you're now?
Well, I define success by feeling fulfilled and making money while I'm doing it at the same time. So for me, I feel like it's an ever evolving and ever growing thing, because my desires continue to increase, and I feel like we can exponentially earn in terms of revenue or profit or whatever. So my goal is to be more successful every day and over time. So whether that means more clients or more groups or more programs or more content or whatever that means for me, whatever I'm passionate about at the moment, that's taking me to the next level, and then always advancing. So up leveling spiritually for me is always been a definition of success for me as well. When I get new gifts or new downloads or new abilities and things like that. So I use that as kind of my scale. If in the spiritual realm, I know that I'm doing the right thing, even though it's not showing up monetarily or materially in that moment, I know that it's coming because that's how it works. And I always want to be aligned and kind of in my flow, in my higher self and the celestial realm. And then I know everything else will work out in subsequence.
Yeah, I believe that success is all about fulfillment. It's about, activating this superpower within you and acting upon it day by day and bringing in, that part of your own liberation is so important. Bringing that freedom that feels right, that's for you, directly for you. So what advice would you give someone who wants to get into their genius as you have? Like what helped you decide to do the work that you love and, create a soul line life and business that you truly, have become an expert in your industry, right? Like what advice would you give someone who just is kind of starting out and want to get themselves off the ground and to get into their genius?
Keep doing the work every day. Always listen in, always trust your intuition, always ask your guides and angels for help. But do what inspires you. If you're great at writing content, write more content. If you're great at going live, go live. If you're good at both, that's great. I like to rotate between the two. Only offer things that feel authentic to your soul. So don't offer things just to make money or just because you think you have to or the next person in line in your industry is doing so. Only offer things that really feel unique and wonderful to you. So those are, I think, my greatest tips of that. And definitely don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. And I think over time it will increase as your value in yourself will increase. I know experience is part of it, but I think it really has to do with how much you own your own work and choosing, like I said, offers and price points that feel authentic to you or valid to you so that you feel good at the end of the day and you feel filled up and you feel rewarded and you feel like you have equal energy exchange. So doing things that nourish you at the same time. So you might be putting energetic output out for whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're creating content or you're working with clients or whatever, but you want to be being filled up at the same time. And that's where the passion comes into play and doing things that you're really passionate about, not just because you think they're going to make you money or because someone told you that you ought to or whatever.
It's really good advice because it's basically about coming from a place of what feels good to you so that you can operate at your best. And that to me, that's really what soul alignment is about. It's like choosing from that place. And when you get so worked up upon the exact strategy, like you kind of lose the content and the real purpose of why you're doing things, because it's based upon what you've seen before or what other people have done before, which never really creates fulfillment from you because it never came from you in the first place. And I think we forget that.
Right.
We get stuck in some way. We're like, why the heck am I stuck? Well, yeah, because I copied somebody else that did this, or I did the exact strategy and that didn't work for me. And it's one of the things I keep telling my clients, like, come from that place first, what feels right, rather than trying to like fulfill this other part of yourself that you think that you need to become, because you're going to end up in the wrong path if you align in the wrong way. And to me, that's aligning to your life challenges rather than aligning to what your real superpower is all about, what the energy of your soul is totally about. I think it does take time to figure that out as you go along, and you do need a guide. You do need somebody to help you to see that direction. And it sounds like that's kind of what your expertise is about, like seeing what luxury and what it would look like in the future, so that you can get into your grounded life and everything in your life and your business. So is there anything else you want to share? Give your last words to my audience before we go?
There's anything I'm supposed to impart, but I think your questions kind of covered everything really well. Just that I really look forward to working with more soulmate clients. Just because someone wants to work with me doesn't mean it's always a perfect fit. I really believe in it being a relationship, especially because I like to work with clients for such a long period of time. So I do a consult kind of interview, intuitive messaging type of session before I ever sign with any clients. And that's available to anyone who's interested in learning more about what I do. So part of what I do is I give them intuitive information, and then I also learn from them what they're looking for. And I think it's a two-way street when we're in this relationship. And I think you probably agree that, you know, it's so important, and anyone out there that's starting their business, it's so important that you just take on clients that feel good to you, that you don't worry about where the money's coming from. It will come. You want to work with people that feel good, and to come from that place instead of just working with people who are willing to pay you. I think it's not always going to be the most rewarding in the end. So finding that blend of people who really want to work with you, who can afford to pay you, and who you feel good about at the same time. And so I offer those 30-minute sessions to anyone who's interested in learning more about what I have to offer and how I work. And so that's been a really great way that I kind of go through that process of creating that connection.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming here on my show. It's a pleasure to reconnect with you and to actually, see what your work is really all about. And so if you really want to know more about her, for sure, contact her right on Facebook and, see if really you guys are a fit. Because I do believe that too. Like, you have to really choose from a place of what is best for you and your client, not just because they want to pay you, but really because it's best for both of you and it's a win-win situation. So if anybody else wants to know more about her, feel free to reach out to her. And thank you everyone else for listening into my Leimomi TV Mastering Your Soul's Gifts interview series, and we'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
Aloha.
Bye.